Hello everyone! So we have a new banner in JP, the Relaxing Hot Spring Legend Fest with Claudia. She's very cute. So I'm going to go over that. This should be a pretty short video, I think. For those of you who are looking forward to maybe more Academy videos, I kind of ended up skipping the last two parts of the Academy banner, partially because I wasn't playing the game quite as much. I was busy, but also because it was really hard for me to evaluate those units objectively because they're very combo focused. I only ended up pulling Resna out of the entire month, and Resna's quite good, but she doesn't really shine without support from other units. And the Academy unit combo is the strongest team comp in the game right now, but you do more or less need 3 units as the core, and without all 3 of those units, it's not super strong. If you have them all individually, they're not that great, but if you have Academy Resna, Academy Sophie, and Academy Ryza, yeah, that's basically the best team in the game with 2 flex slots. Very, very, very strong. So meanwhile, Rorona and Ellen and Mimi are kind of a little bit worse, and I will make a video on the full Academy setup in the future so that you kind of know what to save for. But if you're like free to play and you're planning on saving for like Academy units and not Rose units or something, just know that when Academy comes, if you want to make a very strong team with Academy units, you do need 3 specific units. Otherwise, it's not worth it. So only one of them is particularly strong on their own, and that's Ryza. So yeah, if you don't have the full combo, it's like, it's not that great. But if you do get the full combo, it's really strong. But enough about that. We're here to focus on Claudia and the new updates. Right now, we're on sort of like a filler break banner before part 2 of the main story comes out later this month. So it's just, you know, solo character, pretty short story, whatever, that's fine. Not too much that's interesting there. One thing we did get, research got raised to level 150. So I haven't actually looked at that yet myself. So let's go look at it. My research is capped 100, 100, or it was, so you can see I can go 101 on both of them. It's going to be very expensive. It's already costing 1.9 million per level, so, you know, another thing, they just sort of increased it because everyone is sort of getting to the cap, right? Around this point, so no reason to not go further, otherwise coal is useless. So yeah, I think it's more or less, it's looking like the same buffs from the research, like we have attacker damage up and whatever, so it's not anything interesting, it's just an extension of what we already have. And I think that that's really all for this update, so let's just go ahead and look at Claudia. I actually haven't looked at the memoria myself yet, but I'm sure we can just look at these real quick. Magic attack resist down. So this memoria, after attacking with a magic attack, it gives -7% to all magic resistances for 2 turns. Yeah, this isn't very good. Who could have guessed? But it does have very nice art with Aisha and Valeria, very cute in their kimonos. And then we have this one also with Claudia and Izana. And this one is panel effect up, so when it's equipped to a supporter, all allies get 40% panel effect. So that's interesting. It's at least a unique effect. I don't know if you would unlock this, but it does go quite well with the Meta Academy setup, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is quite useful for panel effect on like Academy Resna, right? You give this to Flock or someone, but it is competing with, say, item charge slots, although you don't really need that much item charge on the Academy team, so I could definitely see this Memoria being quite useful, however. Good defensive stat line for a supporter, very solid. And then we have Claudia, of course. The first thing I want to point out about Claudia, so she is another Bolt supporter, and her leader skill is actually quite good. It's 50% skill damage and break damage for the Kukin Island group. And this is kind of important because Ryza is in the Kukin Island group. So slash Ryza, and Academy Ryza, Gyara Ryza, also Leela as well. The skill damage doesn't matter too much because we don't have any good attackers in the Kuken Island group anymore. Unfortunately, base Ryza has just fallen off too much. She's not used much nowadays, but 50% break damage is a lot. A lot of meta teams nowadays are trending towards not even breaking enemies at all because it's too hard. It just depends. I myself very often just pick off smaller enemies without breaking them and use Ryza's Force Break for like the boss. So yeah, break is very premium, hard to come by nowadays, and maybe just skipped entirely depending on the content. Now, her passives are fairly bland. First of all, she has a 15% magic attack for your entire team. Very decent, like very solid. 50% magic attack is quite good, but it is boring, right? This is a pretty normal passive you see on a lot of characters when they're not meant to be like super, super strong. And then her other passive is debuff effect plus 50% for all allies. This is mostly for herself. It's good for breakers. 15%, not bad, but it's not amazing either. Okay, so her kit is mostly based around debuffing enemies. She is a debuff supporter. Her skill 1 hits an enemy and makes the enemy deal 10% less damage on their next turn, for their next 2 attacks rather. So it's not bad defensively. It's not a terrible skill 1, so if you have to use this, it can help you tank through some things. Not bad. And then her skill 2, of course, they finally, as a debuff supporter, made her skill 2 not deal damage. And this is really important because you don't want your supporters removing your other debuffs from like your breakers or even another supporter or like an item or something. So this skill not doing damage is very important. It hits all enemies and makes them deal 9% less damage for 1 turn. So very defensive skill. However, it also makes them take 30% magic attack damage for 2 turns. And this can stack up to 4 turns. So you can't like do no damage to an enemy and then stack this up infinitely and then make them take 30% damage for infinite turns. I don't know why you would do that anyways, but if you do end up using the skill multiple times before it falls off, it does have a cap on that. But baseline 2 turns, that's mostly what matters. 30% is a lot, and it is specifically magic damage, which means it will scale with the trait that the magical physical resist down trait. So you can get this up to like 70% through traits and other effects. So very, very, very solid here. As a debuff supporter, she will supply a lot of damage, and she doesn't have the same problems that most other debuff supporters have, like Fierce, where Fierce does damage, so she eats debuffs, and she doesn't scale with traits because it's like a resistance down, so she is quite good in that regard. And then her burst, after attacking all allies for the rest of the battle, get 100% reinforcement panel effect. So this burst is kind of interesting. It does hit all enemies. It is pretty good, but it is more of that like panel combo setup. I don't think you're going to see this used very much, but if it is used, it will be on those like Sophie Resna teams, those academy teams. So there are also items to take advantage of this. We now have items that can generate blue panels, but overall, yeah, it's interesting. It is a lot of damage, especially with Resna, who makes blue panels give 90% damage instead of 40. But yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out. I think the skill 2 is the more interesting part of her kit personally. She is a little bit fast, which can be kind of annoying. For most comps, you would want her to go 4th, I believe, because she doesn't do damage. So you want her to go after your breakers, right? So that this debuff is set up for your attacker. So this amount of speed is kind of annoying, but it's still slow enough that she's not going to be outspeeding Ryza or something. So it very well may end up being fine, but I think slightly slower would be preferable, but it's not really a big deal. Her gift is nothing. It is just physical resistance, so no one cares. And yeah, overall, I'd say she is a solid character. I don't think she's must-have. I don't think she's broken, but I think she is quite good and can fit into a lot of teams. She's good with Izana, she's good with Resna, she's good with Mari, she's good with a lot of the meta carry units because she does scale their magic damage. So definitely not a bad unit at all. I think we will be seeing her quite a bit in teams overall, but not necessarily like super worth pulling for or sparking, right? She's not exceptional, just very good. She's also very cute. She is exceptional in that, I will say. I really want her because of that. She's adorable. I love her. And I don't think there's any reason to go over the event gear for her. I looked through it earlier. It was all quite bad. You might make her weapon, but other than that, it was all quite bad. Anyways, we have our final daily pulls for the Academy series. Maybe I'll pick up Sophie randomly. Nope, just Dusty. That's fine. Maybe I'll pick up Ellen or Rorona. We'll see. I am pretty happy with how Academy went for me. I didn't put that many gems into it, I think, just mostly tickets. I ended up getting Resna from a daily pull, and Resna was the unit I wanted most, just because I like Resna, so I have all the Resnas on this account, and that makes me very happy. Looks like we didn't get anything here. But yeah, I did not end up getting Sophie or Ryza. If I got either of them, I would probably spark the other one for the team, but because I did not, it's not worth it. But hey, maybe the tickets will come through on Klaudia. But probably not. We'll see. Alright, come on. Oh, one wink. Not a good sign. Just Oscar around, Yuri and Keith. Probably nothing then. The standard pool of units is quite large now, so random 3-stars can still be quite good. There's a number I'm missing, like Leela and some others. I actually don't know who I want most. I think Valentine Eska just entered the pool with this banner. I have her though, so I don't need her. That's a lot of SR Memoria. That's a lot of SRs in general. 7 from a temple. Of course, we don't care about any of them, but it's interesting. Alright, come on. Give me something. Ah, crap. Well, that's just how it goes with tickets, right? Yeah, once again, Oscar, Yudi, Keith, Griff, just a bunch of SRs, probably. There's always the chance we get a fake out, and yeah, it's gone. Oh well. Yeah. Alright, well, that's how it goes. I'm not gonna spend gems on this banner. I could. I do want Klaudia quite a bit, but I'm just going to leave them. Look how pretty she is. I do really like her. But yeah, we're just going to leave it off for there. And this is basically, like I said, just a sort of break banner event before we get, you know, the second part of the main story, chapter 12, later this month. So that should be pretty hype when it starts. And like, it's not like this banner is bad. Claudia's super cute. She's good. But anyways, that's all from me for today. I wish you all best of luck on your pulls, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.